Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Hugo, and today we're going to see what's going to be the 5 stocks that are going to pay 10% of dividend yield, and they're going to pay you monthly. And we're going to see as well what's going to be the market performance and my portfolio performance. So stay around. Before we start the video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Only 3.9% of my viewers are subscribers, and I need your help to reach that 1,000 subscribers. So smash that button. Let's get back to the video. So we have a QYLD with a dividend yield of 11.99%. This is an ETF. They have the dividend yield corresponds to the performance of the Nasdaq. So basically what they do, they have a buy right where they have some securities and they sell those securities with and there's what the profit comes from. So it's a completely different from any other ETF where the other ETFs, the dividend yield is based on the dividends of the stocks that have on their portfolio of that ETF. In this case, this is a bit different and corresponds to the performance of some of the stocks on the Nasdaq. Therefore, the dividend yield is much higher than any other ETF that we have on our portfolio or anywhere. And one more thing regarding this ETF, it's a diverse ETF where we have several industries on this ETF. Realm, it's one of the ETFs that I already spoke on my channel several times with a dividend yield of 11.57%, which I have on my portfolio. Actually, QYLD I also have on my portfolio. This is a REIT and they have the leverage on mortgage REITs. So that's why we have a high dividend yield with this ETF, because it's a 2 multiplier of any stock that has on in this ETF. But bear in mind regarding this ETF, if the stock goes up, it goes up twice, but if it goes down, it could go down twice as well. AMZA, it's a one ETF that I have on my portfolio for a long time as well, and they pay a dividend yield of 10.62%. They have a PLMS, energy industry sector. So what this means, they have a master limited partnership with the industry that they are in, which in this case is the infrastructure sector, where they have special contracts where they can gain more dividend yields than the normal ETFs. So for this reason, they have a high dividend yield of 10.62%. AGNC, it's one well-known stock which I have on my portfolio, and I've been speaking in this about this stock for a long time in my channel, which pay a dividend yield of 8.40%. It's a REIT as well as the ETF that we have, and it's one of the stocks they pay monthly. So that's why I've put it here on the 5 stocks. Bear in mind that they don't have 10%, but it was one of the stocks that I find which higher dividend yield with 8.40, which at the end will give us a dividend yield of more than 10%. The last but not least, PSEC, it's one of the stocks that I have on my watch list, but I didn't bought it yet, with a high dividend yield of 7.83%. They have a financial company like the Main Capital, which I already have on my stock, but they pay more than actually Main Capital. I didn't went for this stock for one simple reason, because they are overvalued in around 8% per se, and that's why I didn't went for it. Because of the growth won't give me too much of a margin to grow. Taking that into consideration, it's on my watch list, but this is one of the stocks that I wanted to put it here because it has a high dividend yields of 7.83% in the financial sector, which will be a good fit for our portfolio of the 5 stocks. So now let's have a look into the spreadsheet. So as you can see here on my spreadsheets, you can get more than 10%, actually 10.08% of dividend yield per month, which after tax this is going to be around 6.71%. This is the tax that you're going to pay, around 30% on US stocks or ETFs. So that's why I put it here, the taxation. Here it's how much the stock pays per share, and this is the value of the stock at the moment. So we have here a diverse sector, and we have here 2 REITs and a financial sector. And we have here our stocks that I've mentioned, so around 5 stocks, which the total will give you per month around $1,000. So now let's have a look into this. So let's say that I invest $180,000. My monthly dividends will be around $1,000. Of course, I need to invest around 36K in each of these stocks. Of course, I can change here my percentage. Instead of 20%, I can put more on others, like for example here 30%, and let's say here that this is also a REIT. Let's put here 10%, so I have a total of 10%. I had increased my dividend yields, but my exposure to this ETF is quite higher now, and besides being a diverse market, so my risk is much higher because I'm exposed more to this ETF. Of course, it's going to pay me more. In terms of balance, my portfolio will be quite the same because I have, instead of having more in REITs, I'm going to have a little bit more in a diverse market, but more exposed to a specific ETF. And in terms of stocks, I have almost half. So at the end of the year, I'll be receiving $12,600 for a total investment of 180K. But now let's be a little bit more realistic. Not everybody has $180,000 invested. Probably around 5K, 10K, or more. If you have more, that's great. If you are taking this as a consideration of a pension, this is a nice way to go. I also have this as a complement of my pension, so I intended to have around this kind of values, or probably more, but I didn't reach that values yet. So let's say that I average as around 125K, around 50K, and how much this will give you. So if I invest around 25K, I'll be receiving $1,700. So I'll be within my boundaries in terms of taxation, in terms of Ireland. In terms of UK, I can go much higher until the $12,000. So in UK, I can have $180,000 invested, receiving around 12K in dollars, or this will be in pounds, will be around 9,000 pounds, 8,000 pounds. So I will be within my boundaries in terms of the limit of 12,300 pounds per year, which I won't pay any tax. Actually, I think I need to move to UK just to get this exemption. But anyway, in Ireland, it's a bit different. In any other country will be different as well. So you need to see how much you're going to pay in terms of tax for capital gains, which differ from country to country. So as you can see with these 5 stocks, which are ETFs and stocks that are well established on the market, with a market cap quite high, more than 10 billion, and they aren't so affected by volatility, around 2% each. They don't differ much from there. They go up 2%, down 2%. They don't go much more than that. It's a really established ETFs and stocks in the market, and the risk is lower than any other stock that's going to give you more dividend yield, but the risk is going to be much higher. And what we're trying to do here is to reduce the risk. Of course, we don't have too much of diversification because we only have 5 stocks and ETFs. More diversification better, but we're going to get less dividend yields. And you can see that on my spreadsheet at the end of this video, where I'm going to explain you which basically it's my portfolio. So stay till the end of the video to check that. Other stocks this week, we have ABBV. They have increased a lot in this week because its next dividend date is going to be on the 14th of July, and they have a dividend yield of 4.52%. I already spoke about ABBV. You can check on the description or over here, where I spoke about this stock, and it's also one stock that I have on my portfolio. So now let's do a market analysis of the SP500 and the Bitcoin, and let's check what's going to happen this week. Regarding the SP500, we're going to have quite similar behavior that we had this week. Actually, my prediction from my previous video, I thought that we're going to have a really negative Monday, and actually we did. Not Monday because it was holidays in United States, but on Tuesday there was a quite negative, and Wednesday as well. But at the end of the week, on the Friday, we had a good increase, so we didn't got so negative as we have at the beginning of the week. So we had an increase of around 0.29% in terms of the SP500. Of course, the market went down a little bit more. Actually, we had a market negative in around 0.2%. We're going to check that more towards the end of the video. And my prediction for this week is going to be quite similar. I think we're going to open the market around 4.360. I put this bar here because it's going to be probably the rooftop of the bullish markets, where we're going to have excessive exposure of the bull markets, and this is going to be the top. I've measured this based on all tops highs that we have in the past, where in this case I think if we reach these points probably we're going to have a correction, and we're going to see again a bearish market. So until we reach that point, and we're going to towards that point for this week, I think probably we're going to open a negative Monday again, because we had a really positive. And if we check the 1 day interval, we can check that we had a really quite positive Friday. So Monday usually is going to be negative. The same thing that we had here, the same thing that we had here. So this is going to repeat itself. But we probably going towards the end of this line. That was going to be the average of the market in the past few months, per se. And in terms of the MACD, we're going to see the same tendency of growth. So probably we're going to have a bull market for this week. But having always our highs in this point, as soon as the market reaches this point, we're going to have a correction, and we're going to see a bearish market until the end of the month, probably. If we can, when we reach this point, we're going to have some sales. I have already some stocks on my portfolio that I want to sell as soon as we reach that point. Unfortunately, the Chinese market went quite low a lot. Alibaba went quite low, around almost 8%, which I wanted to sell. Probably it's not going to be this week, but I'm going to let it increase for the next coming weeks or month. If it's going to take a month, we will take a month. I'm not going to sell on the loss. I do believe that the stocks are going to increase, and this is just a temporal thing on the Chinese market. In terms of the US market, we're still in a volatility phase. This is not really well established yet, so I think we're going to continue this way for the next week. Once again, we need to have your highs over here as soon as we reach this point, if it's going to be around this point here. But I think that as soon as we reach this point over here, we're going to have a similar correction that we had here, and as the same as we had in the past. In terms of the Bitcoin, we are following the tendency of the SP500, although the cause of this drop was due to the miners in China. They stopped mining, and what happened, they are now trying to sell Bitcoin, and there was a big sell-off of Bitcoin, so they can inject money on those companies and move the operations to other countries in order to continue mining. Some of them, the smaller miners, of course, they start to sell the graphic cards, and there's a lot of graphic cards now and laptops on the market. But the main cause of this drop is because of the sell-off of Bitcoin. So those miners can finance themselves to move those operations. So this is what we have in the Bitcoin at the moment. We are still seeing the same tendency, although in the MACD we are seeing exactly the same tendency as the SP500s, with a small growth, but consolidation of the BTC. So, but actually this was a good thing. Well, not for some, but in terms of the Bitcoin itself, was a good thing, because we have the dependency on China around 85%, or probably more. I'm not quite certain on how much of dependency that we have on the Chinese miners, but those operations are going to now move to other countries, and actually this could be one of the big opportunities for other countries in Europe and United States to start those operations in those countries, so we can get rid of that dependency on the Chinese market. So this is actually what happened to the Bitcoin this week and the previous week. I think we're still in consolidation phase. This is going to grow. Of course, we had another test of the support on the 32K this week, and I think this is just a phase, and we're going to see some growth in the near future. So if you want to copy all my trades, you can do it by searching my nickname on the eToro. On the search bar, you can search by Knight, and you get the opportunity to copy all my open trades. I advise you to copy with all my open trades, so you can get more from the dividends that I have on my portfolio. This actually is one of the good opportunities to copy right now, because you are buying those stocks on the dip. So if you want to copy this now, it's the time. In terms of the portfolio performance this week, we had a decrease on the market in around 0.2%. My portfolio has as well a decrease of 0.7%, although it wasn't much. The biggest cause was the Bitcoin went down in around 5% or more, 8% actually, and also the Chinese market went around 7%, which Alibaba went around 7.8%. So we had a big drop in two markets. So we didn't went so down because we had a few stocks on my portfolio which managed to increase a lot, which was the case of Amazon and Apple, and also from other stocks from UK, which is IAG and GlaxoSmithKline. Since inception, my portfolio has a growth of around 15.17%, and my portfolio returns it's around 30.87%, and my portfolio in the past 12 months had a return of around 30.87%. So, and the majority of this return was also due to some sales that I've done on the past weeks and this week as well, which was Twitter, which we're going to check right in a few moments. The top 5 stocks for this week, we had Amazon with an increase of 5.94%, Apple with an increase of 3.68%, International Consolidated Airlines AIG, we had an increase of 2.62%, which is the combination of some UK airlines and some French airlines. We also had Broadcom AVGO with an increase of 2.57%, and we have ABBV with an increase of 1.22%. This is also due to the fact that the ex-dividend date was during this week. In terms of other performance indicators and actions, so we had payments this week. We had received a bunch of money this week actually. So we had DIV, GlaxoSmithKline, we have the REIT MPW, we have a JNQ, which is an ETF, we have an ETF which is a PFF, and AIG, which they all pay monthly basically. New acquisition, we didn't have none, and open orders, we have SDIV and QILD because they went down quite a lot this week, and I had to do some average, which I'm going to tell right now. In terms of the close orders, we had Twitter with a profit of around 35.24%, which was quite good, and we managed to get that money and reinvest in other stocks that went down quite a lot during this week, which in terms of averaging was the Alibaba with ticker 9988.HK, and MG, and the ETF QILD and SDIV, which they went down in around 5%, and if they go down around another 10% per se this week, I'm going to reinvest again and do some average a little bit more, unless anything else changed in the market. I think Intel went down quite a lot, and I'm thinking if I'm going to invest in Intel as well. The top payers is still AMZA, and the top dividend yield is KYLD, which is the stock that we spoke today, with around 9.99% of dividend yield. My portfolio, in terms of undervalued, had an increase from last week to this week in around 2 points. So from 43 point something percent, we had now 45.2%, and the future growth went down a bit in 0.5%, which in the past week we had around 5%, and now we have only 4.5% of future growth. This is due to some tickers that I've sold, like Twitter, and I went for more robust and more established companies in my portfolio, like Intel's and Microsoft's and Coca-Cola and other ETFs that I on my portfolio. So that's why the growth portfolio had an increase, but still we have a big growth, I think, because my portfolio is still really undervalued in 45%. Of course, this can change completely if you have something like Tesla or any other stock that is really high overvalued. Your portfolio, instead of being undervalued, is going to be overvalued because of just that stock. So in terms of stocks with a high volatility, we have Main, and with the lowest volatility, we have Unilever. So now let's look into the sections in the spreadsheet. So if you are seeing the spreadsheet for the first time, I update the spreadsheet every single time at the end of the market close on the Friday. And here it's where you can do some copy trades and simulation. So when we invest $5,000, you can see how much you're going to receive per month and per year, and for how much you're going to receive for each stock. Here we have already calculating the tax, and here it's the percentage that you need to copy from your copy trade, and they're going to calculate this automatically, just this to facilitate your life basically. Have in consideration this is values after tax, because the tax is being calculating here, so this is quite similar to the spreadsheet that I've shown at the beginning with the 5 stocks on this video, and here it's where you're going to receive monthly. For this week, what we have, so we had payments of DIV. Actually, we had 2 payments, one for one simple reason. One was regarding the past month, and another one regarding this month. Regarding GlaxoSmithKline, as in the past, we received 2 months after, and here we received as well 2 months after. So sometimes when you see when they're going to pay, actually eToro doesn't execute the order in the same time. So in this case, they only received this last week or so, and they pay the dividends a week after or 2 weeks after. We received as well from PMW, JNQ, PFF, and HIG. We also receive payments for this week. So as you can see, I'm going to mark every single week when we're going to receive. So this week we still have a bunch of them to receive. Actually, what I'm showing here in this graph now is the difference of what is estimation and actually we receive. Of course, that we need to have in consideration certain things like some stocks that we bought that we are already calculating and is not that I'm not taking that in consideration. So of course you're going to copy me only from the start. You need to have in consideration that all these months here in the back that's not going to be correspond to the reality, because we're not going to receive that. Another thing that you can check here is the balance, the stocks that I have on the Chinese market, the percentage in terms of how much I have in crypto, how much I have on UK, how much I have on the US market, and how much I have as ETFs. Of course, in terms of ETFs, most of it are based on UK stocks, so we need to have that in consideration. Probably this percentage is a bit much higher than actually is. Again, this is just to give you an estimation of how much you can receive, and you can follow all stocks in the spreadsheet where you can copy to your computer and do your own simulations. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like and the bell. And if you want to comment, go ahead and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. Don't forget that creating these videos take me a lot of time, and it's time that I'm not with my family. So I appreciate that you at least click that like button and subscribe to my channel, smash that button so you can support me in this channel as well. So once again, guys, thank you, cheers, and see you next week.